So in that sense, we are partially lucky. And the reason I say partially is because on one hand, our community is comprised of developers, which is amazing. So if we have power users...
You're hiring your customers.
Yeah, so we're just hiring our users. That's the most amazing things that a company can do.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley in partnership with Leumitech, sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Upwest Labs, Synergy Global, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, Birthright Excel, Serona Partners, and in media partnership with CTech. Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Meet Nimrod Kramer, the CEO and co-founder of daily.dev. Nimrod is a serial tech entrepreneur based in Israel. He is the CEO and co-founder of daily.dev, a community-driven startup that's building the homepage for every developer in the world. Additionally, Nimrod sits on the board of Valega Chain Analytics. He is passionate about Japanese culture, coffee, table tennis, and helping developers stay up to date, not necessarily in that order. Nimrod Kramer, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me here. I love what you're doing. I am inspired by every update that you do, whether it's me going every day to your homepage and seeing the update or getting a little bit from behind the scenes. The company that you're running, daily.dev, out of a real need that you've experienced yourself, that your team has experienced. One of the most inspiring things that you just mentioned to me, that one of the things that you're prioritizing is having team members that are coming out of the product and people that are using the product and are loving the product. And I think, in today's world, that's the right way to go. So Nimrod, thank you so much for being here. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Pleasure. So I'm Nimrod Kramer. I'm 30 years old, originally from Jerusalem, but now I'm living in Herzliya. And I'm the co-founder and CEO of daily.dev. And our mission at daily.dev is to build a homepage for every developer in the world, which is kind of an exciting mission to go for. And I'd love to tell you more about it.
15 years ago, people would have thought you were crazy building a consumer product for developers. Who's a developer, right? Why? Why are you doing this?
So, that's an amazing point, because one of the things that we've been talking about lately in our team is that if you look back a few years ago, developers were building software for everyone but themselves, right? And that came at the expense of what it means to have a good developer experience, what it means to be a developer in 2020, 2021. And I think that now things are starting to change and developers are being put more in the center of things, center of organizations, center of the decision-making processes. And it's about time that they will have products that are designed for them.
Okay, so let's take a step back. Who is a developer? What does it mean to be a developer? Share with me, your persona of what it means to be a developer.
So obviously, the definition can quite vary. Like, it depends on does a developer need to be someone who writes code, or can it be someone who is also working with no-code or low-code tools? So there's a wide definition. There are also a bunch of designers that are writing a little bit CSS. So the definition is quite broad. But I think that, or one thing's for sure, like, developers are not anymore those geeky, nerdy people with the eyeglasses sitting in front of their computers all day. Like, you see a bunch of cool people that have a say. I'm not a developer myself, but you see a bunch of cool people that know what they want, that they have very strong opinions, and they are not afraid to express them anymore.
Right. So if you're looking at developers building tools for developers, the founding story of daily.dev, take me back to sort of the rationale of how you even came up with this idea.
So I think that's an amazing story, simply because daily.dev started as a mistake.
Yes.
So we never intended for it to be a business or to be something big as it is today. It started from a very small problem that my co-founder Ido had, that he was what she would call a developer news addict, or junkie, whatever word you want to use. And he was trying to consume a lot of news, but it was so inefficient. There's so much content out there. There are so many low-effort articles and low-quality articles that it just takes a lot of time and energy to get this thing done. And in today's world, you cannot let yourself be out of date. Like, you gotta be in the know. And so he built this thing for himself. He was the first user. Then the first 10 users were other developers working in the same R&D department. Then the first 100 users came from the stores organically. Then one of them apparently decided to launch it on Product Hunt without even asking us. This is how we got like the first 1,000 users. And from there, it grew organically, which is kind of amazing. And right now we have more than 120,000 installs on the Chrome store.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
You're the CEO of this, the leader of this ship, and you're watching it both grow organically, something that every entrepreneur just wishes for themselves. You know, everything that you're doing is guided, you know, by this notion of product-led growth. And it's really true essence. You really are listening to your developers, and then you're hiring the developers that are using your platform. How do you know what to prioritize? You know, in today's position where you're on this fast growth pace, how do you know what to prioritize?
So obviously that's a huge question. But I think that everything starts from being very thoughtful on what's important. And I'll give you just a quick example. So you see a bunch of products on the market that they put the sign up first. Just a small example, right? But when you just start, and if you're really into product-led growth, so you got to put your product first, right? So if you just ask yourself the simple question, logical question, like what would you rather have? A lot of users that are using the app but are not signed up, or a lot of users who signed up but are not using the app, I think the answer is quite obvious what you want to do. So it really comes down to asking yourself the tough questions and putting yourself in the developer's shoes. That's one point. The second point is that I think that the entire paradigm of what it means to do marketing is totally different when it comes to developers. So there's this term called developer marketing, and reality is that it's nothing but like it's not marketing at all. So when you try to explain some kind of other products to different kinds of audiences, usually you would start with why, explain the benefits, then how it works, then what you're providing, like the kind of Simon Sinek theme.
Yeah.
When it comes to developer, they want to know just what the F you're doing.
Yeah.
They want you to focus. Yeah, cut the bullshit. Just go tell me what are you doing and how do you do it, and let me have some way to prove it by myself within 60 seconds.
I love it.
And that's the magic. Like that's the formula. Tell what you're doing, how you do it, and let them prove it by themselves. That's like the entire Torah on one leg.
Now, how does your day-to-day look? So what does a day-to-day of a leadership, you know, in this product-led growth company look like? How much of it is you're looking at the numbers versus talking to the team versus trying out different features, doing a lot of A/B testing that I know you're doing?
Sure. So definitely at this stage and even earlier, we're a data-driven company. That this is like a big buzzword, but very little amount of people know what it exactly means. So when you start building your product and it gains scale, so it's very hard to decide what to do next. Like we have a huge community that they're constantly asking for features. They constantly ask for new stuff to build. And the only way to know if something works is to measure it. And once you adopt a decision-making framework that is based on data, it makes things so much easier because opinions doesn't matter anymore. Just, hey, you think this feature is good? Let's put it out there. Let's A/B test it. Then let's look at the result. Did it improve? Sure, let's apply it on the entire user base. It didn't work. It didn't improve anything. Let's just bury this thing down. And it really helps to drive the organization forward in an extremely fast pace. The difficulty is to adopt the framework and to be, and to actually be efficient with it.
And you're not a traditional company that is sitting, you know, in Serona or in San Francisco with a beautiful office, beautiful landscape, doing, you know, the Thursday afternoon happy hours, are you?
Definitely not. So we're a fully remote or even remote first team, I would say. Like everybody's working from home. We have employees in 5 different geographies.
What does that mean, remote first, for you?
Remote first means that you don't even consider having an office. So it means that by design, you are crafting the organization of the company in a way that you can work with anyone, anywhere, at any time zone in a non-linear, asynchronous manner. That's a lot of big words here, but basically what it means is that you need to create culture and you need to create work processes where people are as independent as possible and they can deliver without any dependency at all.
So this is it. Right now, you're building the culture. Right now, you're building the team. You're growing the team.
Sure.
What are you facing? What is it like building a remote first team? You're going to be now 7 people, right? I can't imagine if we were to have this interview this time next quarter where you'll be. But how do you prioritize building the right things here within the team?
So within the team, we're trying to adopt a lean approach. So we're just trying to ship something, and then if there's anything gets stuck in the work process, we stop for a second, we think about it, we fine-tune our work processes, and then we move ahead. Otherwise, things will get broken really, really fast. This is one aspect of it. The other aspect is the hiring, which I think that the most common issue, if you ask any tech CEO, especially in Israel now, is hiring, especially hiring technical talent. That's just a mess.
Getting the applicants is a mess. It's not just finding the right applicants. It's how do you get them to actually apply and to want to come to work for you?
Yeah, so in that sense, we are partially lucky. And the reason I say partially is because on one hand, our community is comprised of developers, which is amazing. So if we have power users...
You're hiring your customers.
Yeah, so we're just hiring our users. That's the most amazing things that a company can do. Because people come with a very strong conviction on why this product exists, where it should be in the future, and they want to be part of it because they are using it themselves. So that's a great thing about it. The second great thing about it is that you get to tap into global pool of talent. So all of a sudden, you don't have to hire people that are based locally just here in Israel. There are obviously amazing people and really talented people here, but for a small company, no matter how much venture funding you have, it's really hard to hire. So just having the option to go fully remote, just having the option to hire someone in the Netherlands, in the Philippines, in wherever you want, is a huge advantage nowadays, I think. And that would be a very important factor in our growth.
Where are you in all of this, Nimrod?
I'm in all of this. I'm just an enabler. So my job is to make sure that everyone have enough time, enough resources, and enough motivation to do their job. This is where I'm in the company. And the second thing that I'm in charge of is talking to the community, which started as something doable. Like when you just have several hundreds or several thousands of users, that's easy. Like you can communicate with a lot of them. But right now it becomes like a huge challenge. And we're constantly trying to adopt ways to collect feedback and scale. So I can talk the entire day about it, but this is like one of the great things we do.
If you're looking at the developers as a community and you're enriching them with information, you're giving them a community, you're giving them space, what are some non-trivial things that you've learned about the developers community and this new species that have emerged now to become very, very popular in the world? No longer the geeks with the eyeglasses, but just traditional people that are working as developers. What have you learned about this community that you didn't necessarily know a year or 2 years ago?
So that's a little bit difficult question because like I've been working with developers for a lot of time. So a lot of the myths around it were already busted in my case. But what I'm really happy to see is that developers are becoming more of business people and they're more centric in terms of like the decision-making processes in the organization. And they're
giving a lot of autonomy, right, with the bottom-up approaches.
Yeah, and like for instance, a couple of weeks ago, I participated in a conference in real life, all right? So that's a change. And I was quite surprised to see a lot of developers asking business questions. Like I would expect them to ask about what's your tech stack? Like how do you build that? How do you do this? How do you do that? But they ask, how do you make money?
Actually.
Or like what's the business model? What's the growth plan? And that was shocking for me. You know, like I would never expect developers to ask those kind of questions. And I think that's a blessed change. And I think we're going to see more and more of that.
I love it. What do you enjoy most about this journey as an entrepreneur? If you're looking at, your day-to-day, your personal life, professional life, what gives you the most joy and inspiration?
So I'm that kind of entrepreneur who tries to optimize for happiness. That's
what does that mean?
I'm going to share my philosophy in a second here. But basically it means to work on something that I love, with people that I love, on a mission that I love. This is like the...
Sounds like a dream come true.
Yeah, for me, definitely, like I work with co-founders and team members that I really deeply appreciate. And I truly believe that they are smarter than I am and they are giving more value than I can give. So that's just a great place to be. And I always learn. I just see what they do. I get inspired and it drives me forward. But in terms of happiness, I think it's all about not trying to chase perfection. There's something about the world today where people always say, when I get to this point, I'm going to be happy. When I achieve this perfect thing, I'm going to be happy. And the thing about perfection is that once you achieve it, it's not perfect anymore.
Exactly.
So people who are chasing the next thing or chasing perfection, they will be always frustrated, in my opinion. And so as far as I'm concerned, I'm trying to live every moment, trying to be really mindful of what I do and appreciate like every second, even this interview, everything.
I love it. I can feel both here and the previous conversations that we've had, you're always very in the moment. You're not floating somewhere looking for the next thing, but you're living right here, right now. And I think that it also shows in how intentional the products that you're building are and how there's a lot of intentionality behind the different features that you're doing, because they're the features of here and now, not the features of later on. There's a lot of creativity in the work that you're doing, right? And you have to get a lot of inspiration for what features to build and how do you look at the right matrix and how do you get the right people on your team. Where do you derive your inspiration from?
That's a great question. I think that my inspiration comes from all sorts of things that are not related to tech at all. So
really,
yeah, I'm really passionate about a lot of stuff. Like I really love sound engineering, for instance. So it's some kind of tech, but when I say sound engineering, I mean more recording and studio recording and mixing and editing stuff. And I get a lot of inspiration from the way problems are solved in this domain, and I try to apply it into our domain. That's just one example. Another example is in sports or in different books that I read on all sorts of topics. So this kind of cross-discipline.
Do you have time to just leisurely read and...
I make time.
You make time.
I make time.
That's part of the intentionality of the here and now.
Yeah, exactly.
5 years in the future. Right now, organic, you have more than 100,000 of active users that truly are engaged and they love your product. You went on Product Hunt without wanting to be on Product Hunt. Where do you see daily.dev as a community, as a product, whatever it may be? What is the impact that it's going to have in 5 years?
That's an amazing question. I think being in a position where you're a developer tool, but not in a sense that you're helping developers write better software, faster software, more efficient software, but you're helping developers have a home as a persona. This is something that's currently not really existent. It's quite like scattered across many platforms. So just having that one place can unleash so much creativity, can unleash so many things that developers can do together. So I think that the future for daily.devs lies in collaboration and bringing developers together and taking developers with shared interests to solve massive problems together and to inspire one another and just to be better versions of themselves. And at the end of the day, it's going to impact everyone. So it's a cliche, but now every company is a software company, right? Even
every company.
My grandma had to make an appointment in one of the clinics, and she has to use an app. Someone built that app. So if I can touch like so many developers as daily.dev and to help them become 0.1% better, I really think that we're going to contribute to a better world.
I love it. And what I have to say that I love the product. I love the vision. I love the way that you're approaching it. And a lot of people like to talk about product-led growth and data-driven decisions. And I think for me, it's rare to meet somebody who's actually so intentional about it and is not using it as a buzzword or as a catchphrase, but is just saying, this is what's happening. And at the end, you're building a product for developers. And I think that the sentence that resonates with me the most is saying, like, listen, our customers, all they want is for us to cut the bullshit, and they want to prove within 60 seconds that it's useful for them. And if you're showing that they're coming back after those 60 seconds, that's all because of the product. It's not because of marketing. It's not because of the business model. It's because you've built a great product. And I think that's the highest conviction that anybody can get to. Definitely. So really congratulations on the whole progress until now. And I can't wait to see what's happening with daily.dev. And best of luck.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it.